Today, I want to address a topic that's dear to me. It's a controversial topic and quite an uncomfortable topic for many people. But when I embarked on this journey, I took a vow with myself of total transparency and authenticity. So I want to address this, the topic of addiction in its many forms, not only the ones that we immediately come to think of, and what it has to do with spirituality and the awakening consciousness in general, and what it means about us and the way that we perceive it as well. I'm going to try to keep this video shorter, but regardless, I believe this is important to do, and I've gotten requests over the last few months about this, so I believe it is the right time. In regards to addiction, it's a topic that's close to my heart. It's a journey that I've had to go through multiple times, and I've come to understand a lot about myself through this. And I speak to a lot of people as well, whether it's by email sessions over the years, and I see that it's a theme that's quite common, especially in regards to spirituality. So I wanted to explain why in this video. Maybe I'll do another video about this. Maybe it needs 2 videos or 3. And I want to also explain, how we should look at ourselves in regards to how the world sees us in a specific topic, in a specific arena. Because I think it's very important. Before I do that, I just want to do a short disclaimer. I've covered this in the last couple of videos that I've made. I've released a book. It's called Confessions of an Indigo Child, an in-depth guide to awakening your infinity. Available on Amazon now. Everything's in the description. I don't want to linger on that. I'm trying to mention it as much as I can in regards to being able to get the message out there, and the purpose of this is the parallels that we draw to each other's lives, especially in regards to addiction. It's a confessional, so I've highlighted my journey. A lot of the downfalls and the 2 near-death experiences that are highlighted there, that are, the main catalyst to my awakening, are because of addictive behavior and self-destructive behaviors. And it's a theme that I think many people can relate to. So I just wanted to mention that if you need any additional information, it will be in the description, or you can send me an email. I'd be happy to oblige. In regards to addiction, there's a very controversial and negative energy attributed to it. It's basically a total dependence, the way we see it at least. It's a total dependence of a person on a substance or on a behavior in order to be able to, sustain their daily lives. A lot of it, most of it, is self-destructive. And I wanted to talk a bit about why today. The addictive behavior, a lot of the times in regards to substances, what we call illegal substances, alcohol, all these kinds of things, have a self-destructive tone to them. And I want to talk about why in regards to that, because I think it's important. There's a lot of shame and a lot of criticism attributed, and people keep these things to themselves. And society has a way of judging quite quickly, especially when people tell us they've been through this journey. And I don't think that's fair. Not in the sense that, we need to be fair, but in the sense that it's completely misunderstood. A lot of people you'll talk to during spiritual journeys will say that they are empaths, or they're attuned, or they're intuitive to the energies around. There is a certain sensitivity to the environment, what goes on around you, and how the energies around you affect you. There is an increased sensitivity and ability to pick up on things. And it starts from childhood. It actually probably starts from when you're a fetus within your mother's womb. And of course, other lifetimes, but that doesn't exactly pertain to now. We have been raised in a 3D manner. It hasn't been easy for everyone. Most people that have been spiritually inclined have felt at odds and separate from the society, their parents, their school, throughout this journey. A lot of the times, and I can attest to this 100% from my own journey, there is the need to self-medicate and escape through the use of these substances, or especially from my experience, and people have corroborated this with, in regards to, for example, the use of alcohol, a lot of indigo children and a lot of people, crystal children, a lot of the younger people have had a lot to deal with in terms of attention deficit energies and so on within their bodies, nervous systems that are a bit overactive, adrenal cortex, which is overactive. And a lot of the times it seems like your mind just never stops working. And some of these practices were used to, escape, self-destruct. I'll talk about the causes, the root causes of this that stem back to other lifetimes in a second. But also to numb the mind and to be able to leave this environment. The third density for a lot of spiritual people has been very dense and heavy and difficult. And people that are more attuned, they feel it. It's like if you go to another planet and the gravity is higher and you walk around, your body feels it. And it's not easy. You can float around, you can jump around, you can feel elated and happy. So just see that as that energy within their bodies. And they try to look around, and of course there's the peers and so on, whatever everybody's doing, but how do I deal with this? That's why so many people also take antidepressants and other medication, is to be able to numb and escape from the 3D experience. It's not the best way to deal with it, but most people have gone through this. It's something that we need to accept. I don't think we should ever go into judgment or anything like that. And there should be a shame element removed from it because it doesn't serve anything. In regards to the people that have engaged in these behaviors, myself included, there is the need for total forgiveness, and there is no need for the relinquishing of any judgment we have towards ourselves, because it wasn't a bad behavior. Okay, it was something that we chose to engage in at that specific time. It seems like a great idea, even though it wasn't, obviously in retrospect, but it was what was right for us at that time to kind of come to, a downfall, a difficult situation, and decide that we had enough and get ourselves out of it. Yes, a lot of those substances, especially the more addictive ones, are destructive to your life, and also on a physical note, you can take you with them, and then it's very difficult to come back from. There's no doubt about that. But in regards to the necessity of people to deal with these energies, and this being the easiest and most accessible way, and sometimes we didn't think so much at that time about how to deal with things. It was an accessible means of escapism and an accessible means of dealing with the situation or not dealing, numbing our emotions, numbing ourselves for a while, in order not to be in this. Because if you're a 4D or someone who's supposed to become 5D born in a hardcore 3D environment, you're going to be at odds with your surroundings from day one. You might have anger or difficulties in the house, and you're caged within those four walls until you're able to get out of there. And a lot of the times you don't know how to deal with it. And when you go out in the world, the practices of society, the dog-eat-dog attitude, the aggression, the competition, all these things you might not resonate with at all. And then you try to figure out, where you fit in this world. And if you don't have the tools or the teachers or spirituality around you, not spirituality is a word, but awareness to find what's the reason that you're here on this planet, what are you meant to do, or are you just meant to float around the world, looking around and not belonging. Sometimes it's easy to go to these things to not be here for a while. Okay, obviously it's not the right choice. Obviously, in the long term, it doesn't benefit you and it harms your body. Nobody can argue that. It's not acceptable, but it's definitely understandable under the circumstances. Okay, especially in the numbing effects. I had difficulty with this for years, from having extreme hyperactivity as a teenager and a lot of problems and all sorts of symptoms that have names, but science doesn't understand, so of course they give you pills. And the pills, when you take it into your own hands, can transform to marijuana addiction. Later on in life, there is this anger that builds up at life and at the world. And I had, for example, an alcohol abuse problem for many, many years, and substance abuse as well. From my end, it was stemming from my sheer anger at the world and my inability to express that because there was so much of it and to deal with it. So I tried to drink to bury it and make it go away and to numb it. Obviously, it didn't. It didn't matter how much I exercised or how much I drank, it was still there. When I started awakening, I was able to sit down and figure where it came from. But in a lot of beings that I've been incarnating for many, many lifetimes, a A lot of people have been separated from the source. A lot of people have made mistakes. I call them lessons. I don't call them mistakes that they regret. And there has been a lot of self-punishment over these lifetimes, especially in this specific lifetime. The self-punishment can be related to something you did in another lifetime. Self-punishment can be related to the need to self-destruct because somehow you believe you don't need to be here, you don't deserve to be here, or you're not good enough because all of society isn't like you, or you're not like all of society, therefore there's something wrong with you. Okay, so you need to self-destruct, to disappear, to numb, to escape. All of these things are a lesson we chose to learn in this lifetime. It's not a punishment. It is solely of our doing. There's nobody else to blame. Okay, actually not even ourselves, but we can't project this outwards. And it's all kind of a play of the ego. Okay, whenever we go into self-loathing or self-destructive behaviors or anything like that, it always stems back to our ego behavior. And the fact that I always say that the ego isn't the bad guy. It's not. But this wasn't to blame on our ego. The ego just came forth in our lives and said, you know what, here's this thing. You know, you can try it or not. You can try to deal with your problems in a different way, or I'll give you an easy fix. Which one do you choose? And of course, you know, when you're a teenager or a bit later in life, in many situations, let me take the easy fix, because 3D is pummeling on me on a daily basis and I don't know what to do. Okay, that's why it's important to have a community. It's important to have support, and it's important to have love from the people around you. A lot of people that have been awakening by being born in certain families, myself included, never had really the love that we wanted, that we expected. Especially if you're very spiritually inclined, you, I guess, were used to the love of creation a long time ago. And when you look around at humans, especially 3D humans, not that we were 3D humans once, okay? I'm not doing an elitism thing. But when you look at your family and you have certain knowledge about how humans could be and certain values about how they should be, and you look around and you don't find anything like that, there's a lot of frustration and anger. And you feel alone and more alone. You try to fit in, it doesn't work because you're not supposed to. Okay, none of us knew about Ascension 20, 30 years ago. Maybe very few. I didn't because I was 4 years old. Okay, but when I was a kid, I can always remember myself looking around and feeling like I don't belong. Entertaining thoughts of being adopted for being another planet, looking up the skies and talking to something and saying, you know, if you can take me out of here, I'll be very happy. This was at a young age, and I'm sure millions of people have felt the same things. That's why I'm sharing this. If you project that onwards, that feeling is still there. You didn't start belonging. But maybe you try so hard to belong that you feel like you're a fraud and you need to punish yourself for it. So whenever something comes up and triggers that addiction, a part of you, you feel like it's the right time to self-destruct or to abuse or punish yourself. On a personal note, I honestly never wanted to be here. I was fighting this incarnation from the very beginning, honestly. And only after I had my second near-death experience, due to alcohol. Of course, I had a near-death experience. I almost, went to the other realm. I had a clear choice whether I wanted to be here or whether I wanted to, continue on that path. And because of that, because I had also always been asking questions, I started to figure out that if I was going to stay for a second round, and this is all covered in the book, that's why I mentioned it, I wanted to figure out what on earth I was doing here, and if all of this was just a random experience or if there's a greater design and if I have a purpose. And that's why I embarked on all of this journey afterwards. After all of this self-destruction, by finding purpose and meaning, I decided that I actually wanted to be here. Because I realized that all of the things that had happened to me hadn't been somebody else punishing me, but me punishing myself. If I had punished myself, I could also undo the punishment. Okay? And all of this, of course, from the ego. And I could help other people with the lessons that I'd learned. That was meaning. That fueled me. That's why exactly when, 10, 12 years later, this is what I'm doing. Because this is me. It is a reflection of me. It's my energy. I have learned to embrace it and accept it. But I understand that the 3D mold for many people, young and old, depending on your age. I'm 34, there may be 15-year-olds out there and there may be 65-year-olds out there who have been through these experiences, being angry at their surroundings, not wanting to be here, wanting to numb whatever wasn't working. And of course, because there is no, we have high school, we don't have awareness spiritual school instead, or in parallel, there's no way to address it. And many years ago, there was no internet as well. So you were on your own. And this was one of the easiest ways, just to not be. But I really think like it's important to say that there's a community of people all over the world that are going through the ascension process, and you're not alone. A lot of these people, from what I'm seeing, not my own journey, but out there, have gone through an addiction period. I wanted to explain a bit in this video why it happens, and it's not an illegitimate or strange or awkward or controversial topic at all. It's a normal human response to being a 5D person born in a 3D world that doesn't give you what you're looking for and always makes you feel like you don't belong. And the anger, resentment, and desire to escape that comes out of that, I feel is normal. Okay, whatever things we engaged in afterwards, I understand it was destructive to our bodies, destructive sometimes to our minds. Hopefully we're out of it. We've grown out of it. We've learned from it. We must never judge ourselves for it. We must never feel shame about it. It was just a thing that at the time we felt like we needed to do because we didn't have tools, meaning, or purpose. Now that we do, we don't need it. Okay. I feel also in regards to the topic of addiction, and I'll do a video on medicine because I'm a big believer in not alternative medicine, but being aware of your body instead of engaging in all of that stuff. The medical community would provide you with tools to get rid of whatever you have, and it still does. And in regards to addiction, it would help you try to deal with the symptoms. I engaged in addictive behaviors until the point where I felt like I didn't need to do it anymore. That's the only way to get rid of them, is to be able to understand why I did this, to get to the point to understand that I don't need to do this anymore, to relinquish this, energy, and to try to replace it with something positive. I.e., I don't want to be here, let me self-destruct. I actually want to be here, let me stop self-destructing. If I was on, all sorts of pills, treatments, and all these things, without addressing the cause, it would just be, I feel like there's a lot of people that have had addictive behaviors that there's still a certain amount of fear that they'll start again. They start drinking again, using again, whatever. Or even, there are other addictive behaviors like cutting and all sorts of things. You need to take care of the cause. The cause is from here. No pill, treatments, psychiatric session or anything like that that's mostly 3D will really be able to help until you try to figure out why, change that pattern, and embrace a new energy. And at the end, you won't need it anymore. So it will be like, not like it never happens, but like it has a small compartment in your life that, it's marked with, but no more than that. Okay. That's what I wanted to stress today. In this video, I said before, I've been asked to do this a few times, and I thought it was the right time. Because we're talking about transparency. I released a book. It has my story in there. Everything is out. And I feel, many people are going through this journey or have gone through this journey, and there's a certain amount of shame that lingers or difficulty to get out of it. And I feel like a lot of the times I do videos, I try to make things simple, tangible, explain them as humanly easily as possible, and try to go back to the root of the problem. Not talk about the symptoms, not talk about alternatives, cures, magical answers, because I don't believe in magical answers. I don't believe in predictions or prophecies or anything like that. I believe that we have all the answers within ourselves. So I try to go backwards sometimes before we can actually move forwards. That's it. I wanted to really thank you for being here. I appreciate you and your journey. I want to send out my love to all of you. I thank you for being you, for doing this journey, as Robert Frost calls it, the road less taken, the road less traveled. It's not been easy, and it's my understanding that we are near the end for many, many of us. Not all of us, but many of us, depending on what stage we're at. And I think I don't want to rejoice yet because I want to finish, and I want to be able to live free of what I was before, and I want us to be able to live free of what we were before. But I think we all need to give ourselves a little clap, a little, credit for what we've been through, what we've gotten rid of, by taking the road less traveled, which was always going against the grain, incurring all the difficulties, the judgments, and the resentment from other people, and by trying to live by our truths, which is the least easy thing that you can possibly do. Most people still, in all their achievements and all their desire to create and to be, live by other people's truths. It takes infinitely more resolve and drive and integrity and authenticity to try to be yourself. Okay, that's a really, I talk to clients from all over the world. They may be on the four corners of the globe. They may not have amazing positions of power or anything 3D, but man, their journey is amazing. And they've done it by themselves, against the grain, against the currents, because they felt like that's what they needed to do. And I think for that, we all need to give ourselves and each other credit, honestly. So I want to thank you for all of you. I mean it. I know it's not easy to be on this website. It's not easy to be in a society or in a community that you feel judges you or doesn't understand you. And it's not easy to feel like you're alone. And especially if you're awakened in the last couple of years, for example, and you find yourself in a relationship with children and so on, and you feel like you need to, close this chapter and find someone new or go out on your own and, experience life. You're so entrenched in that framework, it's very difficult to get out of it. And it takes a lot of courage. And I think most people can't do it. Most 3D mindsets are not able to make that move. So if you're entertaining this and you feel like you need to follow your truth, give yourself a hand. Seriously, give yourself some credit. You deserve it. Okay. Thank you for you. Thank you for your journey. In regards to the YouTube channel, subscribe if you want to stay in touch. You can send me an email. I'll include everything in the description below. I have also a website. It's www.indigolightlove.com. You can just visit it. I have a lot of posts, written posts that I don't necessarily include. Sometimes I put a monthly message, a channeling or something like that. And of course the book, which is also included in the description. I'll make everything easy and attainable. Okay. Thank you for you. Thank you for being here. I love you all. And I wish you a good month of June. May you be, well and confident and comfortable in this journey increasingly, and let yourself flow with the current and not against. Okay, because I know the energies are intense. So just try to, there is a saying that you should flow like the river, but if the river has boulders in it, you're in the wrong river. So just try to go with the flow. If you feel like there's resistance, try to separate yourself from it and try to figure out why it's there, instead of just keeping on resisting and fighting with yourself in the world, because it doesn't work. Okay, thank you all. I love you, bless you, and have an amazing day. Thank you.